Hello, good morning. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the webinar today. Today's the topic is about open innovation. It's a law for future business development. So today we have the privilege to have 4 speakers to join the webinars today. And before we move on, so for today's program, we have next slide. So we can have a next slide to show the next slide about the agenda today. Today, we have 4 speakers, and each speaker will talk about 8 to 10 minutes to introduce their company, what is the business model, what open innovation means from their perspective. And then after about 30 minutes, we have about 20-minute Q&A section. So for those people who want to ask questions, so you can type in your question in the chat box so that we can collect those information and then we ask them. Without further delay, let me introduce each speaker first, right? So myself is Andy Wong from Invest Hong Kong. I lead the innovation and technology sector within Invest Hong Kong. And the speaker on my right-hand side is O'Haley Wang. She's the chief executive from Asia Pacific Agorize. And then Ben Wong from New World Group. He did the Rika Dover. He's the assistant general manager from Rika Dover Groups, right? And the lady over there is Sally Osborne. She's leading the Kaleidoscope Lab from Peninsula Hotel. So we'll talk more about how the heritage meet the innovation in the luxury hotel. And then the last gentleman is Francis Poon. He's the marketing development lead from Science Park. He will talk about the program called Global Acceleration Academy, GAA, right? For those who may not know about Invest Hong Kong, I hope not that many people, let me talk about he's a government agency to help companies to grow. Our remit is to attract and retain foreign investment, helping them to set up an office in Hong Kong, or if they already have an office in Hong Kong, how to need them to expand their business in Hong Kong. We provide a free service, and we divide it into 8 different sectors, as you can see on the slide. So we provide more targeted service with their industry-specific knowledge. And then we have one more important customer called Start Me Up. So that one is helping the startup to make sure that they find Hong Kong as a good destination to start their business in Hong Kong. So the next one, I will hand over to O'Haley to talk about your company.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Oh, yes. Does this work? Oh, wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much for having us today with this beautiful view outside. It's not a green, I promise. This is real. And today, better this side actually. Yeah, my name is Aurélie Wen. I'm CEO for APAC at Agorize. I'm the first one to go.
It's really the innovation for the mic.
Yes, we should crowdsource new mics maybe. Very excited to be talking about open innovation. I'm a huge advocate for open innovation, as we all are here. And let's start with a very quick, I love definitions. And if I were to say what is open innovation, it's a tool to transform organizations with the most innovative ideas, technologies, and players, whether they're internal or external. And so just to, in a nutshell, what Agorize does is we're kind of the missing link that ignites successful collaborations between, on the one side, 300 corporations and brands, and on the other side, a global community of 5 million innovators. And the way we bridge this gap with these two worlds that rarely talk to each other is through an online platform that we call Open Innovation as a Service. And Agorize has been doing that and building bridges between big companies and innovators worldwide for the past 10 years. And ever since day one, our core belief has always been the same. We really, truly believe that the best ideas and talent can come from everywhere. It sounds very cheesy, but that's really what we believe in. And the reason why I say it's cheesy, because I think the simplest ideas are what make successful companies. And we were super blessed. I'm so grateful because for the past 10 years, we're capable of running 2,000 open innovation challenges. We're now the #1 open innovation platform worldwide, despite having very aggressive competitors, especially in the US. We have 5 million innovators in our community, which is quite unique. And we grew the team from 3 young students, freshly graduated, to a global team of 100 people. We have 6 offices now. Our regional headquarters is here in Hong Kong. And we also have offices in Singapore, Tokyo, Paris is our global headquarters, Stuttgart, and Montreal. And we secured in total $20 million of funds raised till, since the beginning. So quite a nice story, especially given the fact that the first times we met with some of these big logos that you see here, one of them told us that you're never going to make it. Your idea is so bad. And if you ever make it past your first year, I will shave my head. Maybe we should call him today and tell him to shave his head, but we won't because we're very nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these are just a few of our clients here, especially with a focus in APAC. Super exciting things we do with both governments, private companies, all kinds of sectors. And even the diversity of the panel today shows how much open innovation can be applied to all kinds of industries. Most people will tell us, oh, this cannot apply to us, we're industry, or we're a bank, or we're in the media, it doesn't work. Actually, it does. I talked a lot about the 5 million innovators. I don't want to bore you too much with more details, but I just wanted to say that the reason why we chose to focus on these 4 particular categories of people was that there is a real win-win situation here for them to participate in these kinds of open innovation challenges. Students, of course, they want to get experience, get rewarded, get jobs. Startups, of course, want to get direct access to decision makers, exposure, opportunity to create a proof of concept. Developers, of course, they want to hone their skills, get more experience, be the best of the best in the world, and corporate employees as well, to showcase their talent and their entrepreneurial mindset. And very quickly, why does open innovation work and why should we care? It's a question I keep asking myself every morning, honestly. And if I was to put that into 5 key points for, on the one hand, why does open innovation work for corporations? It would be this. Why? Okay, reason number 1 is, as a corporate, using open innovation is a great way to crowdsource solutions across regions and industries. The second is to have quickly access to valuable innovations. And I would also add get quickly access to bad ideas that can sometimes open your own eyes about, oh, maybe we shouldn't go into that direction. Third reason is building a community of startups and entrepreneurs around your corporation, which is very, very strong. Mm-hmm. Microsoft has been doing that really well, for example. Number 1 contributor on GitHub, by the way. GitHub is the online repository for free code. So Microsoft, being one of the strongest companies in the world, have understood the power of communities. Fourth reason is to leverage diversity to provide creative solutions to unsolved problems. I mean, diversity is not just a fluffy word to look nice on your CSR report. It's really so important. Even ourselves at Agorize, at a very small scale company of 100, we feel when we lack diversity in the way we design our own product, our platform. For example, until 2017, we only had male or female when we were to choose our gender, when you were registering on our platform. And being a very strong D&I advocate, I was like, hey, folks, can we just add other options here? It was kind of new, but that's what you get when you have an all male team. It's not the case anymore. Fifth reason, sorry, I digress. Brand awareness, of course, based on innovation. So it's more about, hey, our brand as being this legacy, super strong brand in this sector, but actually, did you know that we do this and this and this, and we're super, super active in the field of innovation? So that's it for the benefits for corporations. And now I wanted to focus on what's in it for startups, because I know a lot of startups are attending today's webinar, and what's in it for you when you want to take part into an open innovation challenge. We are a startup ourselves, and we basically are a startup that helps other startups get visibility and get direct access to corporate decision makers. Believe us, we know how it is. 2-year sales cycle, been there, still gonna be there. So at least through these kinds of challenges, you get direct access to the people who have the checkbooks. Co-create solutions for real industry pain points. That's definitely something. Is everything okay?
It's okay.
Cool.
We're still safe.
I love it. Time's up. Co-create solutions to solve real industry pain points. As an entrepreneur, we know how hard it is sometimes to feel like, are we really solving something real here? Well, when you do these kinds of challenges, you actually get access to real industry players who have real problems that can validate your initial idea. Third is get valuable mentorship from industry leaders. I could not stress enough the importance of being mentored. It's confronting your idea with people who have been in the business or in the industry for 20 years is super valuable. And that's what you get, as well as funding for POCs more quickly. Time is our biggest enemy as a startup, and that's why these challenges really accelerate this. And finally, exposure across the corporation itself, who is launching this challenge, and also, of course, PR and visibility. Now, this sounds a little bit theoretical, so let me just dive into two examples of corporations who leverage open innovation and that we've been working with. Melco, the entertainment resort industry player, we've been launching open innovation challenges with them for the past 3 years. We usually focus on students, but also on startups. Here, I'm taking the example of the startup competition we've just wrapped up early this year that was launched last year. In total, so the problem statement was very broad and very cool. It's how can we innovate and reinvent the hospitality and entertainment industry, right? Especially right now with everybody being stuck at home with lockdowns everywhere. We need to find ways to create a better experience for hosts, but not only for hosts. And that's the cool thing about this last edition. They wanted to create a better customer experience, but also a better employee experience. And that shows the two startups that won these competitions. They won $50,000 US in cash prizes and also funding for proofs of concept, etc. So that was a very cool opportunity. The startup that won was a voice as a service company called Being Human. Let me just double check that. But the product is called Woohoo, sorry. And it's basically at the intersection of Alexa, a Fitbit with, as well as an e-commerce voice command thing that you put into the host's rooms or in anywhere. And it's basically a voice assistant, virtual host assistant to whom you can ask anything. And that provides a very cool experience for the hosts. The second startup that won was a startup that created a product called Melcopedia, because they figured out that employees at Melco waste so much time figuring out where to find the information, where is the information, and so they created this bot-powered voice command online directory where you can ask anything to Melcopedia and you will find the answer. Second example is, I'm almost done, promise. Pernod Ricard, the wine and spirits company, maybe you know them through their brands, vodka, etc., wine and spirits. They figured out that today it's very complicated to manage, the challenge is called Wise Drinking Challenge. And I guess you can understand why that means. There have been behaviors around alcohol that have not been really healthy for our kids or relatives or families or loved ones, and they wanted to tackle this. And so they launched the Global Open Innovation Startup Competition. We had more than 350 startups joining from 60 different countries. And the number one startup that won is basically, and it was very interesting, an online escape game company. So forget about the escape game where you get into a room with your folks and try to get out of it. It's actually an online experience. And they applied the online escape game experience to students and young people at junior high, high schools to give them, to change their perspective about drinking. Because drinking was seen as cool. Well, actually through this online escape game, it was no longer seen as cool. It was actually seen as, okay, you have to be careful while you're drinking. To conclude, I think, there was 3 things just to remember from everything I've just said now is I really do believe that open innovation is a new norm. It's no longer an option. It's not just here as a fad. corporations and startups are natural allies. I insist on this term, natural allies. We're not enemies. We don't, as a startup, we don't want to disrupt big corporations. As corporations, I do hope you do not want to destroy us, but we have all the biggest reasons in the world to work together. And corporations today rely more and more on platforms. Can be Agorize, can be anything else to source ideas and solutions worldwide. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. There are tons and tons of players like us out there who can help you either get started on open innovation or take your open innovation initiatives to the next level.
Thank you, Aurélie. I can share with you, right, when I preparing the slide, and then I asked one of my summer intern trying to help me, and then he said, I'm the one who participated in one of the challenge,
no.
But he lose, he didn't win. So he remembered that. So
he remembered losing.
Yeah. So the next guest speaker is Ben. So Ben is from the New World Group, Nova. So Ben, could you share with me or us about your models, how it works, and how can they help the corporate to innovate?
Sure. I'll just go through the presentation then.
Thank you.
Okay. Great, we're good. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. I want to first thank Invest Hong Kong for having me on this panel. Today, I'm really excited to be out and about and amongst peers that I want to learn from actually a lot more given the situation we're in outside of this webinar today. In my introduction today, I'll briefly talk about Eureka Nova and what we do there as an open innovation platform. And I also want to share some of the findings from a case study that we recently ran that I think is quite interesting and also justifies what we do. So at Eureka Nova, we are an open innovation platform that specifically makes formatted programs that cater to our business unit needs. We spend a lot of our time as a team internally to identify some of the technology transformation direction internally, some of the KPIs that need to be met, and identify resources that are actually going to back these projects. So depending on the business unit need, we could come out to the market with an accelerated program. If it's more for inspiration for something in the future, we might look for an open competition. If it's something that's ready to go, we may open a sandbox for startups to access our database. And we also have an innovation lab that we will be launching very soon, where we're actually bringing internal business units as well as external entrepreneurs to come in and essentially co-create solutions. Some of the benefits that we do believe that we bring to our startups is the access to our industries. At New World Development, we do have a breadth of different industries that we're tapped into here in Hong Kong, Greater Bay Area, mainland China, as well as other markets regionally. And we really do believe that by opening up this door into our industries, it really helps open up a lot of insight for our startups in terms of industry. We do have industry experts that can actually bring them more business problems that they could solve. And the idea and the goal is to co-create and actually scale their solutions within our organization and the ability to also access our external partners. So over the last 3 years, we've been very lucky to create a community of 1,600 individuals within our ecosystem that we constantly tap into whenever we do need a source of innovation or solution that our business unit needs. And we've launched 5 different startup programs, accelerators, competitions, and we have nurtured 50 startups throughout the whole entire process. But where I want to bring everyone's attention to is kind of where we spend most of our time, which is the business integrations within New World Group and our partners. Over the last couple of years, we've been able to see 35 successful integrations. Obviously, not everyone that comes to the program will land a project, but because of the curation that we do with our business units, we do see a higher conversion rate when it comes to actually opening an opportunity for our startup. And just to give our overseas guests a little bit of an idea of New World Development and the breadth of different industries that we're in, we are in the retail sector, we're in the property development sector, we have hotels, we're in infrastructure. If you take a second to take a look at this diagram of the different industries that we're in and the brands that we do have that you may recognize. These are all the doors that we do have that could potentially be open for our startups. Okay. And here's just a quick look at some of the startups that we've brought into our programs, a lot of which are currently working with our startups, and not just at an initial stage, some of them already do have commercial contracts working with us. Where I want to spend a lot of our time today is really a recent case study that we ran. We launched a program called Impact Commons that is a social impact accelerator program where we align ourselves with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we identify some of the sub-factor metrics that we think are appropriate for our businesses, and it does closely align with our sustainability vision. So when we launched Impact Commons, we went to identify 5 different startups that could solve some of our business problems. The idea here was, okay, we have sustainability metrics. Can we solve it with technology? And can we accelerate the process? And the answer from our business units were, yes, let's try it. So we went out there and identified 5 different startups. And today I wanted to articulate some of the findings for one startup that we tested. This startup's called NTRAK. NTRAK is a property tech solution. And I think we all here can relate, being in Hong Kong, that even in 30°C weather here in Hong Kong, we still carry it to the office. And I think that's mainly because in Hong Kong, in the malls, generally it's cold. And I think this is a complaint that we all have experienced. And we either cannot change it because in a commercial building, you have to go through an admin center to actually change the air conditioning, or you don't want to bother your colleague by changing it because that thermostat might actually control multiple units. What NTRAK here is doing is empowering every single employee to control their own workstation's temperature and lighting. And the idea here is to create a better experience for everyone that's in the building, learn what their call it optimal temperature is and optimal lighting, and over time be able to kind of predict to a certain degree. And I view it as one of the byproduct of this is huge energy saving factors for us. And this aligns with our United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as well as New World Group Sustainability metrics. So we launched the solution as a pilot quickly in one of our buildings. And we saw that in our building here, you'll see that in this particular office space, we would typically have the air conditioning on at about 7:30 a.m. because we have a lot of early birds that come into the office early. But you'll see that the temperature is consistent between 22 to 23 degrees, and that's really cold for me. I typically operate in 25 degrees, right? We noticed that nothing has really been changed. There's no command to change the temperature throughout the office, and then it gets shut down at about 6:30. And again, this is the situation where we see a lot of people wearing jackets, right? And they're really cold. We deployed the NTRAK TEP solution, and afterwards you'll see the changes. Because we empowered our staff to actually press the button of I need it to be a little bit cooler, NTRAK would take a unit of our air conditioning and blast cooler air for 10 minutes only. And the idea here is that you just need a quick refreshing 10 minutes of cool air and then you'll be okay. And you'll see that the temperature actually substantially changes. When we come in, it's at a 25 degrees, but you'll see at the workbench, it's a little bit warmer, workbench number 2, but then someone blasts a quick 10 minutes. And then throughout that whole entire process around lunchtime, again, we change the temperature to be a little bit warmer, but someone comes back from after lunch and we get another blast. What we saw was kind of a more customizable tenant experience. And in fact, we can't do this without any measurements, right? Our initial pilot showed some results. We saw that our air conditioning actually saved 13.2% of energy. Not only does that have cost saving elements, obviously this fits a lot of our carbon emission cut factors as well. One thing that I found surprising, because most offices today are actually outfitted with LEDs, we actually had 38.6% savings there as well. So this is an initial pilot, and we have a lot of different scenarios that we have to run the technology through before we actually scale it out. But for instance, in this scenario, if this continues to hit all the benchmarks that we want it to, the idea here is to allow a company like this to scale within our ecosystem, not just locally, but also regionally. And that wraps up the case study. Quick intro of our team. We do have a team that's focused on technology. We spend a lot of time on working with our business units to identify metrics and objectives before we build the programs. And if you ever are interested in getting access and learning about New World development, do feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah. So thank you very much. And then the next speaker is Sally. So Sally is coming from the Heritage Luxury Hotel. We want to hear more.
Okay, I hope this is working. Very nice to not see you all, but very nice to participate. I'm not going to be taking you through slides. I'm going to take you on a little journey, a little bit of a heritage story in terms of how we've got to where we are today. So people may or may not know the Hong Kong Shanghai Hotel as in our parent brand. But a lot of people seem to obviously know the Peninsula brand globally, and we are about to launch 3 new hotels in London, Istanbul and Myanmar. So hopefully Europe will start to understand a little bit more about our brand as well. But this is a 150-year-old story. You know, we first started the business here. It's very much a Hong Kong business. And we started here with the Kowloon Hotel and obviously the Peninsula Hotel over the water here, which you can't see behind me. And, you know, we were actually thought of as the pinnacle of innovation in those days. You know, we had hot and cold running water, which was seen as quite innovative. So, you know, all the way through our kind of history, we've had those moments of innovation. And I think that goes through our culture. A lot of the teams that have been with us through the business have been with us a very long time, you know, and they have gone through this kind of culture change. Now, just to give you a bit of background, rather than kind of more recently getting involved in this open innovation journey, we've actually had an R&D team in Wong Chuk Hang here in Hong Kong since the 1980s. And they are, well, they're now 30 odd people, but they've been developing our in-room technology, our in-room experience. And now these days they look at, you know, kind of the smart room, you know, the future of voice, you know, many, many other things. So this is not something that has recently come to the group. It's actually something that's been going for quite some time. But the journey that we've been on is that 2015, we started to think about transformation. We started to really think about, okay, for us to build 3 new hotels, consider we only have 10 hotels, is quite significant for the group. Okay, we have a lot of other types of businesses. We have residential, luxury residential, we have malls, we have F&B, we have many types of other business. But to actually suddenly grow from 10 hotels to 13 hotels was quite significant. And we needed to take on board how we become more global, you know, how we can kind of collaborate globally with all of our technologies and our teams and everything. So we had to really think about our transformation. We couldn't be those silos anymore around the world. We really needed to think about. So in 2015, we started our transformation. And really the way that we grew that was coming from our CEO and our chairman, actually, Sir Michael Kadoorie, the very, very interested in technology and in innovation. And so we started our technology journey with something that at the time was called the Technology Steering Committee, very exciting name, which really was the chance to bring all our business functions together and look at their vision and look at their roadmap and to say, okay, hang on a minute, there's a lot of siloed work going on here. You know, everybody's doing something different, but some people are engaging the same people, the same companies, and actually we needed to be a lot more collaborative. So that started our journey in 2015, and that was a journey from kind of 2016 to 2020, which was our transformation, which we're working through now. But as we were on that journey, I obviously got involved, and my background startup many, many years ago, 1998, which was acquired by Expedia eventually. So I got involved, and when we were looking at our vision, we found that within our own industry, we just couldn't find the right kind of solutions that we wanted. We couldn't find the technologies that we needed. We didn't really want to go with our normal legacy, contacts. We wanted something a little bit more exciting. So that's when we decided to, look at my ecosystem, which was the startup ecosystem, and start to say, hang on a minute, how can we bring the two together? We saw some great stuff going on in retail, in automotive, and we said, hang on a minute, we want some of that. But our current structure doesn't support that. We have a very lengthy procurement process, and we have lots of different, kind of departments. So we decided to create our lab, which was Kaleidoscope Lab. And the idea of this is that, startups needed a place to come to really get some fantastic mentorship and behind the scenes experience to help them to grow, but at the same time for us to be a little bit more agile in our technology development. And so not dissimilar to obviously your structure, it's our own little bespoke kind of setup really. And the idea was that we initially set up a 12-week program with Stanford Research Institute. We loved the fact that they kind of flew in, gave us this wonderful mentorship for 12 weeks. And we put out a competition which had a number of challenges in there that we had found as a business. And we had about 70 companies apply. We brought that down to 20 odd companies that we met with here in Hong Kong. Obviously, times have changed, it was great. We all got together, had some great conversation. And then in the end, we had 5 companies which pitched to us over at Peninsula Hong Kong. And then we had 2 that went through into the lab with us. But that's not to say that actually, as a result of this, probably 20–30% of the people that applied, we are doing business with now as well. So it opened up many conversations and many proof of concepts. So the idea of this 12-week program was really to make sure that we got the proof of concept into a property, whether it was Hong Kong, Chicago, wherever it was, and actually really give them a chance to get involved and get a commercial agreement out. So that was our first, that was in 2019. As a result of that, obviously, a lot of new collaborations have come with different accelerators. We work with GAA, with the Hong Kong Science Park. We work with globally, lots of different accelerators. But we will hopefully, that was a Hong Kong-based program. We will hopefully put out an international program at some point. Obviously, things have changed slightly recently. But now what the team is doing, the team has grown into an innovation team that is beyond just technology now. So now we're into every business function where we can bring innovation in process, innovation in product, innovation in service. So actually, it's become much wider, and we've seen the benefit of just making sure that we're really close to the startup community. So yeah, that's really our journey. And I think, the power of kind of positioning our brand with a startup's brand, if we feel it's successful, it's great to see them then going out there into the industry. I believe the hospitality industry can sometimes be a little bit slow on the uptake. And so, to be able to help to push that startup out into our industry is fantastic. And we're working with the Hong Kong Hotelier Association as well on some items. But globally as well, we work with academia. So we work with the school in Lausanne, we work with the London Mayor's program in London. We have many different collaborations, and that's really just to keep our ear to the ground, get our ear out there to see what's going on, and just keep us forefront. And with the new properties that we're building, we're seeing a lot of new ideas coming through. It's about the future of our build now. We've been building properties, for many, many years, but now it's about the future of that build, and very much about that experience on property. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a journey, but we love to hear from many different types of startups, and hopefully we'll run another program soon. But if we don't, we still love to hear from you.
So we can see the price we pay for it is wealth for the luxury hotel. Okay, the next speaker is Francis Poon.
Yes.
He's from the Hong Kong Science Park. And maybe, I think it's 2 weeks ago, and then we pay a visit to your organization. And then we went to the 19W building, which is a very new building, a very good environment for the staff to work over there. So,
absolutely.
Francis.
Thank you, Andy. And thank you for having us. Great to see our peers and partners sharing such great stories. Yes, thank you for having the Science Park here to share about our open innovation platform. Particularly, it's called the Global Acceleration Academy. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Science Park, let me take you into the bigger picture. So at the Science Park, we have a working population of 13,000 people working there every day. 9,000 of those are doing R&D in the Hong Kong ecosystem perspective. We work on technologies from AI, robotics, to fintech, to smart city applications, to, of course, our biomedical technologies, which Hong Kong actually has a very advantaged position. Now, within that, we have a program that works with corporate partners and open up to the our own startup community, or scale-up community, which houses about 400 companies. Now, within that space, this started 3 years ago, where we had a program called Technologies from Science Park, and we saw an opportunity to really share what we had developing at the Science Park with corporations on a more readily available basis. And since then, we've evolved that program significantly, really based on significant demand that's coming from the ecosystem. If I go forward, so what we do here at the Global Acceleration Academy, or GA, is really try to understand the industry pain points or problem statements in technology innovations and match it up with capable solutions or available solutions, not only at the Science Park, which I talked about having a few hundred of them, but really looking out further to Hong Kong and now around the world. We work along 8 verticals, as you can see. That really is the mainstay of a lot of Hong Kong's economic base. And you can see we talked about prop tech, we talked about the travel and hospitality, which Sally alluded to. And it's been really exciting because now we're working at a much more cohort level, which is not just serving one corporation, but like, for example, the Hotel Association, which we're bringing together a mix of buying power, a mix of challenges that allow really more significant solutions to be brought up to the forefront to really move the ecosystem. Now, how do we do this? Okay, so if you're looking at a corporate engagement model, we have 3 stages that can span up to 1 year of relationship or engagement with us. First, we come to you to understand really what is the heart of the challenges you're looking for. What kind of solution, what kind of innovation you're looking for. You heard Sally mention, versus technology areas, but really now we're looking at actually a lot of operational business advantage, competitiveness, business functional areas that corporations are coming to us to say, hey, do you have any solutions for? Then once we understand that, we would set up a much more matching solution or stage where it's really about looking at market-ready solutions. And this is very much looking at what we have at the Science Park, but also into what's available in Hong Kong. And it's very much around looking at something that is much more readily usable and quickly accessible. Now, as you advance further with us, we have a stage 3, and it depends on some of the more advanced corporations, such as the ones we have here. They would engage with us on a more co-creation type of engagement, and this is where the accelerator kicks in. And this is a 3-month program where we source innovation, or source startups or scale-ups from pretty much around the world, and then address the pain points along a vertical industry basis, and work with a very committed mentorship from the corporates, multiple corporates, and then work towards a POC, or proof of concept, at the end of the 3-month period. We've seen various successes. Not everybody obviously gets their solutions topped in, but is that effort, is that try, is that that engagement that really has set people ready for either immediate business availability or the next level of engagement. And you can see one clear example here is that I'd like to maybe just verbally talk about is we saw a very interesting solution that come in from a high-end luggage company that was making a rechargeable battery pack that you can charge your phone as you were towing your luggage through your various locations or destinations. Now, as that luggage solution came through, one of our two amusement park companies here in Hong Kong came to our accelerator and said, okay, we have strollers that are pushed around the whole park throughout the day, and at the end of the day we spend a significant amount of effort going and track back these strollers, and we don't know where they are most of the time. So maybe because we can't have a live battery charge in that stroller, what we can do is use the energy charging generation mechanism from this luggage and see how we can use this store charge all day and project a GPS signal to our staff to then retrieve it more efficiently, and therefore reducing the effort needed to bring back our strollers to base. Now that was pretty straightforward, pretty innovative in that respect. But what happened is once you got into the corporation and the tech keys within that corporation starts talking to each other, is that another group saw, hey, hold on a sec. That type of energy, kind of self-charging kinetic energy charging system, we actually might use it in our rides to make sure that the seatbelts are actually locked in before we start the ride. And it's that type of, because you can't put a live wire through the seatbelt situation. So you need something of a momentary charge that then signals to the booth operator that the seatbelt's tightened or locked in place. So these are type of examples where, with the platform, with the clientele we're looking at, and with the startup situation that we see, we can match these two areas to really take some competitive advantage, something that hasn't been looked at, something that actually wasn't even thought of initially, and then these intersections of discussions propelled another innovation to be had. So I think that's something that we try to do. That's a great example. Not every example is like that, but that's a really extent of where we see, the Science Park or the GA program has some experience in doing that. Now, you can see that now a lot of that comes with practice, and I think there's no replication, or there's no missing the hard work. And so you can see in the 3 years, we've actually been very, very busy in various ways of these 3 stages. We've actually run 19 accelerators, worked along 55 partners, and you can see the amount of proposals and other startups that we have engaged. So we work across 8 industry verticals, and the natural question is, okay, what's next? What's going on in this space? And what we're seeing right now is that actually there is kind of starting to have demand actually from elsewhere outside the Hong Kong ecosystem. And because of the lack of travel or the digital situation, we're actually seeing ecosystems from Southeast Asia come to us and look at, hey, what do we have at the Science Park that we can leverage out? And so we are looking at really this year or going forward and really Asian expansion that is actually quite sensible and quite advantageous and opportune for us to work with our partners and really take that moment to expand Hong Kong's innovation platform, take some of that entrepreneurial energy that we have here and extend that out into the Asia and if not the world ecosystem. So that leads me to very real event that we are putting in together in about a month's time. And that's our Global Matching 2020. So as you can see, we talked about having this ability to pull in various technologies, but also corporation problem statements. This is our one program which spans across all 8 verticals. We actually have an overwhelming amount of participation from the global tech community. We received over 350 applications from 28 economies around the world, all through Algorithm's system platform. So that worked out very well. That scaled up really, really well. Projected the communications really well. And within that, we narrowed it down to pre-selected of a certain quality for the corporates to select down to 160. we are now starting to engage the corporates for their registration. And so if you're interested from a corporate basis, please reach out to us. There's 160 viable, very attractive tech startups waiting to talk to you and to really showcase what they can do for you from around the world. So even in, given the situation right now, where are our top innovations coming from? We're seeing it from China. Of course, Hong Kong, we have a very good base, but we're seeing it from China. We're actually seeing it from Singapore, and we're seeing it from United States as well. And surprisingly, we also see double-digit propositions coming from Brazil. So you're seeing a whole range of, and of course, of the other 28 economies that are coming in as well. So you see a really good, I think, interest into what we have here. I think people are seeing that, hey, there's an opportunity here where things are still moving, things are still happening here. And we definitely are open up to, keeping engaging this forward, in Hong Kong, but also seeing opportunities that go beyond. Okay.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
So I can see there are quite a number of questions coming in. So maybe I first ask about O'Haley about the question. Sure. I can see a lot of large number from the slide, 5 million innovator.
Yes.
So it's about 2/3 of population in Hong Kong working for you, right? so what's your feeling about the open innovation in Hong Kong as compared to other markets in Asia and also maybe worldwide?
Wow, that's a
very open question.
Yeah, very open question, absolutely. I was fortunate enough to experience open innovation both in Europe, in the US, North America, Canada and the US, and here in Hong Kong, but also in Singapore. I think what really differentiates Hong Kong is that it's a very tight ecosystem where it's very easy to really quickly know all the players, which is amazing. And I also see that there is a lot of solidarity between the players as well, which is something that I only saw in one other place in the world, which is Montreal, that has surprisingly the same kind of vibe in the tech ecosystem as here. There's excellence in terms of academia. Universities here are top-notch. It's quite impressive, as well as the level of quality of the startups themselves, because we really sense here that they build the product with a global approach right from the start, which can be very different when, for example, when you're in the US, startups, they only build products for the US market. It's very rare when you have the likes of Zooms or stuff, or companies like that that really build for a global domination, I would say. Yeah, that's.
Thank you. Anything you want to add from any other people? Or if not, then Ben, for your company, you're doing helping the startup to create a solution for New World Group as well as for your partners, corporate partners, right? So how can you commit those people to put effort in from your company so that they can teach the startup to work towards the solution? How can you get them to commit to your programs?
Yeah, thank you. It's an uphill battle. And I think there's no kind of one hat fits all situation. The one thing that does actually help is the culture within the organization of actually driving technology transformation. I think every BU has to specifically identify a technology that they want to invest in, whether it's time, whether it's capital. So that helps drive the conversation internally for us. The uphill battle for us is to see if we can get access to their strategic direction. And once we get access to that, then we really go into these workshops specifically with the business unit to identify when they need it. Do they have resources to back it? And will they actually nominate project managers to support the project? So in short, what we really try to do is get skin in the game. We want the business units to really put in the effort and be able to be transparent with us so that we can actually build a tailored program for them. And I think we're learning all the time on how to approach it. But once we do get it, it makes it a lot easier for us to identify the right type of startups to work with the business unit. Ultimately, we don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste our time. We want to be super productive in identifying these solutions for them. So that helps when we set those expectations internally.
Thank you. So Sally, so you talk about you have 30 people working in-house, right? In the past, right? And now you're doing the Kaleidoscope Lab, right? So how do you compare the open innovation as well as in-house? What's the good and pros and cons between the two?
I think it's just, getting outside of your day-to-day job, really, just starting to inspire some thinking. People are very busy day-to-day. When we bring in outside people and we start to have those conversations, you never know where it's going to go. You start in one direction and you go off in 20 other, but at least it means that people are starting to think creatively, and it's very exciting. And exactly to your point, we have to be very balanced in terms of how much we touch in with the operation, because extremely busy businesses, they don't want us coming in and messing with all their technology and playing with all their toys. But, what we do is we use the lab as that stepping stone. We bring business function heads into the lab, and when they're comfortable that they're getting that bespoke piece of work that they think is really valuable, then we take it into an operation. And so the lab is almost like that kind of buffer to stop everybody freaking out and saying, what on earth are you up to? But yeah, it's really great to see those conversations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Francis, right? So there's a question from the floor, right? Okay. So how to balance the open innovation and IP protection?
Oh, that's a very good.
That could be the question
for everybody, right?
Everybody, but maybe you are the lucky one to say.
Absolutely. So I think the opportunity comes into really accessing the technology IP, as you've alluded to, I think still definitely works within the ownership of the tech venture, right? That's how our approach is into that. The value of that application is where you want to derive as a corporate. I think it's about that area. So you definitely, I think, as a Hong Kong ecosystem, advanced economically, rule of law, all that, we're very much here to make sure that IP protection is the mainstay of the tech venture, okay, to have that, right, so that that entrepreneurial spirit is continued to be developed and new innovations come to light from that perspective. But we also definitely want to work with the buy side or the corporate side to harness the value of that in their applications. And that journey, as we talk, you hear from these people, our partners, is part of the challenge. It's not, there's no, there's frameworks and stuff we all work upon, but it's that effort to place in, that's where you derive that thing. So the example I gave about, the luggage charge and things like that, that resides with that company that's providing that, but the application could be put into many other places. Okay. So I hope that helps. And anything you want?
Any additional? Right. So one of the questions is about asking if they miss the application date, right? So they miss the date, and then can they still engage with your organization, or do they need to wait for the next round?
Okay. So yeah, let me explain that a little further. Our global matching happens twice a year. So we closed off applications for the tech startup application side, but we are opening up for the corporate side to engage in selecting the meetings that they would like to have with the various propositions that were being organized on the platform. So it depends, which perspective they're coming in from, and if they want to apply to the corporate side, please reach out to myself or our GA program, which you can look for information online.
I think, Shelley, you mentioned about you're not so sure about the next one, right? So.
Yes, but that doesn't mean to say that we're not working consistently with many, many startups. And, a lot of people get in touch with us separately. There's a lot of information online. And I think it's just, look, we've got many challenges out there at the moment. So just please do get in touch. And, we do sift through and we look at lots of different types of opportunities, but we're just not within our rigid structure right now. But that's not to say that there's not an awful lot going on.
Right. Ben, do you have the deadline, or you're open all the time?
We're open all the time. But we do have a program that it's coming up in about 6 weeks' time. That is our bigger impact comments. Right. So originally our impact comments had 4 SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that we were focused on. The next rendition of it will be 8 SDGs. So that means more business units will participate with specific problem cases. So keep a lookout on eurekanova.com. These cases will be coming up, and we'll be very transparent about it over the next 6 weeks.
Thank you. Go ahead. Never-ending challenge.
I am, I think.
Yes, you are.
Talking about deadlines and programs, I think right now on Agorize, we're running about 30 simultaneous competitions, startup challenges, student competitions. There are tons. A lot of COVID-19 centered topics as well. And sustainability, by the way, is a big thing. We cannot go back to, innovating the way we used to do. I think there will always be a before and after COVID-19 in the way we innovate. And so now I'm so glad, Ben, you talk about the SDGs, because we've been running multiple programs and open innovation programs around the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. And just to give you a few examples, right now we've just launched a huge program with Singapore, crowdsourcing deep tech startups all around the world, but also we've just won a very exciting contract with NASA. Yes, yes, that's the one. Super excited because I was the one chasing after them for the past 2 years back in the North America. So it's best day of my career life, I guess. But the exciting thing is that NASA is launching every year hundreds and hundreds of open innovation programs. The one that I prefer is the X Prize Challenge with a $1 million grant to win. But they also have all kinds of problems to solve. Quirky ones as well. You can check the Spacebook Challenge if you're interested. Very interesting stuff.
Thank you. So the question from the floor is about, do you take equity stake in the startup?
Do we?
Do you
take equity?
Yeah, equity stake.
No, never.
No, never. Right? No one, right? No one. Depends.
I mean, from a Eureka Nova perspective, we don't, as an entity, invest, but then within New World Development, we do have venture arms looking at different stages. So once they enter the Eureka Nova program, it is a pipeline that we essentially feed over to our venture arms as well.
Okay. How about Science Park?
Yeah, let me plug in for Science Park, because we have a myriad of programs that help this entrepreneurial spirit in technologies. In the GAA, we do not. It's very much a platform to allow tech solutions for corporate pain points. But we do have a advanced incubation program, acceleration program called Leading Enterprises Acceleration Program, or LEAP. And that we do take some equity because we want a stake in the game. At that point, you're looking at an advanced scale up that is looking for an exit over a number of years. In that point, we do like to take some type of ownership stake in moving that along the ecosystem. We also have a corporate venture arm and investment arm, that is. Sorry, not corporate, but investment arm that does look at both the buy side and sell side journeys or opportunities to help the ecosystem along.
Thank you. Maybe given the time, maybe we just have the last question, because for today's webinar's topic is will innovation be the norm for the future? Maybe it would be good to share your view about, will open innovation be the norm for the future? I think the answer is yes. And then what would be the key driver to make it happen? Shall I start with you first?
Wow, don't get me. Do I have 20 minutes? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. There was Steve Rader. He's one of our folks at NASA. He says, open is the new norm and innovation is no longer an option. I'm going to shamelessly reuse his words. Talking about going back to the IP question, people tend to be so attached to their ideas, while actually ideas are commodities. Though if you really want to innovate, you have to share your ideas. You have to share your pitch as a startup. You have to share your concept as much as you can. Nobody's going to steal, anybody can steal your idea, but it's all about execution in the end. And I think that, yes, open innovation is definitely going to be the new norm for businesses, because we've been hammered with the message that survival of the fittest is the thing that is going to make your company survive for the next 100 years. Well, actually, I do believe that symbiosis and working with your ecosystem is actually going to make you win in the long run. That's why.
Thank you. Any thought, Ben?
Yeah, I do believe that obviously innovation is going to be kind of part of your DNA moving forward. for any corporation. I think from our perspective, we view it as who do we affect with innovation. We do have a very strong view on creating shared value, especially with technology. So if our technology can not only help us as a business, but help our customers and help the society, help the environment, I think that's the angle that we're going towards, to be more of a sustainable model with technology. For us, that's kind of the model that we're moving towards across the organization.
I think it's just been interesting as well over the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, the fact that, even as an industry, we started to share through our open innovation. I work with lots of different other, hospitality people, we have conversation, and it's just great because the industry needs it. Quite frankly, we're all working towards the same goals. So yeah, this has just allowed us to be much more open. I remember a conversation about 6 years ago with somebody in our company who said, "You do like to share information, don't you?" And I said, "Well, no, but let's just see where we can get to, so yeah, it's fantastic."
Thanks, Ellie. Yeah, let me answer in a couple of ways. Definitely, we're on this journey. The GA program is getting momentum. We're going beyond Hong Kong, like I said. There's a couple of reasons why. We're seeing reports and we're seeing maturities in ecosystems, especially from the US, where they're doing studies where, average corporate engagement model versus people who are very experienced, people who have the maturity, who have the practice of corporate innovation. How are they actually advancing? They're actually advancing to reach a higher level of competitiveness in their industries. And what they do is actually they get into the startup scene much earlier in that startup journey. So more earlier stage startup, which means your risk profile is a lot higher. And also they get into that technology area, their own industries area much deeper, and they provide a lot more mentorship right at the forefront. And so, that's what we're seeing in the GA program as well. So as you see those 3 stages I talked about, and that co-creation stage, part of that success now, before people came, we had a program and, there's good PR from that. That was all good. But right now it's actually looking for value, right? There's tough times like this. You're looking for competitive advantage. You're looking for a way, to really make more business happen. And getting ahead of the curve is what we're seeing, and you get these kind of innovations that come through at a POC level, which you can really pass in through the organization, like getting the VUs involved and getting more of that culture in there. And the interesting thing we found is, we have 2 stages. One is a straightforward matching, like kind of Science Park to do some shopping, and the other one is this co-creation. Some of the corporates are coming up to us for the co-creation to actually change their innovation culture within the organization. It's not so much, it's definitely for solution adoption. Okay, so that's definitely things but really, how do you exercise that innovation muscle inside your corporate culture? Well, hey, Science Park's program is, they got a bunch of hardworking people who can help us along this way, and we like to engage in that. So that's very interesting because that's part of the value as well, is how do you move that organization culture? And just to what Sally said, we're seeing now an opportunity to, solution adoption, but also practices as adoption, where innovation practices, how we can get onto more of these type of sharing opportunities to learn off each other, right? Where things are working, where things aren't working, that actually are great learning opportunities. And as Science Park or GA, we see that maybe an opportunity to help everybody out in the future to kind of house this level of influence, or this practice consolidation, and kind of get a rising tide to lift all innovation boats, so to speak. So definitely we're here for the long run.
Thank you. So I think we're very close to the time. So any other last thought? If not, then we're about to close.
Just one plug for me. Yes, I think I didn't answer the question about how to apply and stuff. We actually, the best place to keep in touch with GAA is through our LinkedIn page. Okay, so you can follow us there, and you'll get all the latest, and we'll send out when to register for which aspect of the program, etc. And I'm sure maybe you guys have things for your program you want to talk about as well. They can come to our program instead. We're all, and we don't charge. So the underlying thing for the corporate side is it's all a service for the Hong Kong ecosystem. This is free of charge, but the effort the effort on this is not obviously free. The value is actually the effort these experts put in to the program to help everybody move the needle on innovation in Hong Kong.
Okay, so on behalf of Invest Hong Kong, I thank you so much for your participation. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Cheers. Bye.